So there was this real concern coming out of particularly Brexit in 2015 and the 2016 American election. False and misleading information was circulating at scale and convincing many people in democracies of falsehoods.
Fake news, real gunfire. A North Carolina man arrested in a DC pizza shop after brandishing a gun.
Recently, there have been internet reports about who the Pope is endorsing for president. But just because it's trending, is it true?
Facebook has been accused of pumping out fake news after the social media site ran adverts claiming animals were threatened by Brexit.
And so that really prompted a global reckoning that included the establishment of many observatories, including the one here in Canada. Ultimately, what we're trying to understand is the way that information flows across platforms, across spheres of influence, across communities, to understand how something comes out of state media one day.
Today we're looking at Ukrainian biolabs and how much the United States knew about them or even participated in funding their research.
And the next day is being parroted by a set of influencers in North America. We start from the basis that there are certain voices that speak much louder and are heard much better than others. So if you go online, you're welcome to start a brand new account on X and tweet whatever you want, but nobody's gonna see it. Other people get on and their content is gonna be consistently seen by millions of people. So if we know that to be true, who are the people getting those millions of views? And we go, okay, we're gonna identify all of those people in the Canadian context. That includes journalists, politicians, news outlets, influencers, civil society organizations, advocacy organizations, industry groups. And we're gonna go and collect everything that they say and all the engagement with that content. Every post, every tweet, every audio clip, every video that they're producing is gonna be collected, transcribed, ingested, and analyzed. We can tell you on any given day which communities are talking about what issues, how they're talking about it. And we can look at patterns of influence as well. So we can tell, for example, who gets to set the agenda. So who, when they share some piece of content or when they start talking about something, mobilizes the entire information ecosystem. All of those entities go, oh, okay, this is now the subject that we're discussing. And for the better part of the last year and a half, that's actually been Pierre Poilievre. When he has been able to mobilize attention online, what happens is the entire information ecosystem kind of adapts to him and goes, okay, that's what he's talking about today. I guess we're talking about that too. And so you can sort of map patterns of influence that way. The mere fact of being able to set an agenda is not concerning. That's always how it's been. That's how politics is. But there are concerning elements to it. So for example, if that entity is not Pierre Poilievre, he's the leader of the opposition, he should have a voice, he should have a platform. But what if it's an American influencer? What if it's a Chinese influencer? What if it's Russian state media?
An information incident is a disruption in the information ecosystem that could cause harm or has already caused harm to the Canadian public, to electoral systems, political candidates, democracy. It can range from anything from a disinformation event to a foreign influence event, a bot attack, generative AI, fake, deepfake kind of situation.
Last year, there was a US indictment of a Canadian company called Tenet Media, run by two Canadians. And there was $10 million funneled to them to support the work of influencers in Canada and the United States. The money was funneled to them because they largely were among the most pro-Russian voices in the West.
This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy.
If you're a listener of Tim Pool or Dave Rubin or Benny Johnson, you pay attention to them, you trust them, and you don't know that they're taking millions of dollars from the Russian state to help inform your opinion. That's problematic.
We really want to get at what is the nature of the incident, what is the cause, and what are the impacts.
In this case, the clear danger was Russia is funding influencers in the West. So what we do is we mobilize experts. In this case, we mobilize a Russian expert who is very familiar with their tactics. We mobilize an expert on influencers and the way influencers work.
And then we adopt a murder board type approach to how we conduct an investigation, where each of the members on the team is responsible for essentially a picture in the murder board.
What role do influencers play? Why does this matter? Why should Canadians care about that? And then there's some very specific questions. How many Canadians know about them? How many trust them?
Think of each of the incident response team members as detectives in a broader investigation, and each detective has a picture or two that they're responsible for, and then they put the picture up when it's done. And then at the end, the observatory looks at the murder board and then tries to synthesize all of the pieces and then make a story out of it.
We found that many Canadians knew and trusted these influencers, that they have quite a large reach. Not only that, but there are a whole set of Canadian influencers who are in their orbit. Somebody like Benny Johnson would tweet something, and then within 30 minutes to an hour, a Canadian influencer would tweet or reproduce almost exactly the same thing. I've talked to many Canadians and had many conversations about what do I do? How do I navigate the information environment? And it absolutely is a challenge, but the only way you can really effectively do that is if you know where the money is, if you know where the influence is, where you know who matters and how they're influencing others, and you have as much information as possible. We don't claim something is mis or disinformation. We don't tell social media companies to take things down, but we tell you as a Canadian that, oh, hey, by the way, did you know that X is now radically amplifying certain types of voices? That's the type of thing that we're going to be communicating. And this isn't a question of censorship or free speech. This is a question of understanding the way platforms, influencers, actors, and foreign states that don't care about you, don't care about your family, don't care about your community, are working in the information space to convince you of things that are not true. And that's our job. That's what we're trying to do.